Most men spend their entire lives chasing status the wrong way. They obsess over money, over image, over achievements, believing that if they can just acquire enough, the world will finally respect them. But Machiavelli would laugh at this illusion. He understood a truth most modern men never grasp. Status is first won in the mind, long before it is ever seen by others. A man who does not command himself can never command presence. A man who does not control his inner world will always look powerless in the outer one. And here's the part almost no one wants to hear. Only a tiny fraction of men ever learn the psychological shifts that actually raise status instantly. Not through effort, not through luck, through perception, through mindset, through the invisible rules that determine how people judge strength, competence, dominance, and value. This video is for the few, the men tired of being overlooked, tired of being underestimated, tired of feeling like they're doing everything right, yet still viewed as ordinary. Because the truth is simple. Leaders and the led do not think the same. Their mindsets are built differently. And once you understand these 7 dark shifts, you'll never be seen the same again. Most men grow up believing status is something you collect, a set of external trophies that prove your worth to the world. They think status comes from having the perfect body, the right clothes, the newest car, the biggest following, or the loudest lifestyle. They chase validation like it's oxygen, believing that if enough people approve of them, they will finally feel powerful. But this is the myth that keeps the average man trapped. Because all of these things are effects, not causes, Machiavelli understood something far more brutal. Being liked is a weak form of power. Being respected is the real one. And respect is not purchased with popularity. It is earned through the way a man carries himself, what he tolerates, how he responds under pressure, and the emotional gravity he projects. The world teaches men to seek likability because likable men are easy to control. Respectable men are not. The myth of status convinces men to chase what is seen, ignoring what is felt. They obsess over the visible signals, expensive brands, curated personalities, forced confidence, while neglecting the invisible inner rules that actually determine status. Confidence without boundaries becomes arrogance. Wealth without self-control becomes chaos. Attention without presence becomes noise. This is why so many men feel invisible despite trying everything. They think status is an accessory you put on, not a mindset you embody. They try to mimic high-status behavior instead of understanding the psychology behind it. And because of that, every attempt to look powerful only exposes their insecurity. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Status is not granted by others. It is recognized in you when you think, act, and move like a man who does not need approval. The average man never learns this. He keeps chasing applause, unaware that real power comes from the man who can walk into a room without demanding attention, yet still command it. What comes next exposes the reality most men never see. The mechanics of perception itself. Machiavelli observed one of the most uncomfortable truths about human nature. People do not judge you by your intentions. They judge you by what you project. The world doesn't see your kindness, your hard work, your inner goodness, or your private struggles. It sees only the signals you send, your posture, your tone, your emotional stability, your confidence under pressure, your ability to stay unshaken when others react. In short, status is perception, not confession. This is where most men fail. They think status is about being deserving. They think if they just mean well, people will acknowledge it. But perception is a ruthless currency. A man who cannot master how he is seen will always be underestimated, no matter how much potential he has inside him. True status begins with self-command, the ability to control your impulses, your reactions, and your emotional leaks. When a man speaks calmly but decisively, people listen. When he stands without fidgeting, people feel his presence. When he doesn't rush to justify himself or seek validation, people assume he has authority. These are subtle signals, but they shape how others treat you long before you ever say a word. Then comes decisiveness, one of the strongest forms of perceived power. Even a mediocre decision, delivered with certainty, appears stronger than a great decision delivered with hesitation. Machiavelli knew this. Hesitation makes a man look weak, even when he is right. Decisiveness creates the illusion of leadership, an illusion powerful enough to become reality. And finally, there's emotional neutrality. Nothing raises your status faster than the ability to stay unmoved when others expect you to break. People instinctively look up to the man who is calm in chaos. His composure becomes a form of psychological gravity that others orbit around. This is the shift. Status does not come from trying to be impressive. It comes from controlling the signals that shape how others perceive your power. Outward approval becomes irrelevant when inward authority is mastered. Now that you understand the mechanics of perception, you're ready for the part that truly separates leaders from the led. The 7 dark mindset shifts that transform how the world responds to you immediately. Shift number 1. Stop seeking warmth. Project controlled distance. Most men try to win acceptance by projecting warmth, friendliness, and constant approachability. They think being easygoing earns respect, but in reality, it dissolves it. Machiavelli understood that familiarity erodes authority. When you're too accessible, people assume they already understand you, and what is understood is never feared or respected. Controlled distance creates psychological elevation, a sense that you have your own world, your own priorities, your own internal power source. This triggers curiosity, not complacency. High-status men don't offer warmth freely. They let others earn it. The shift here is simple, but difficult. Stop rushing to make people comfortable. Stop signaling eagerness. Let silence sit. Let mystery breathe. When people feel they can't immediately place you, they elevate you by default. Shift number 2. Replace reactivity with calculated silence. Reactivity is the ultimate status killer. The moment someone can provoke you through disrespect, disagreement, or emotional bait, you signal that your internal world is controlled by external forces. Calculated silence, on the other hand, is a weapon. It makes people reveal themselves, over-explain, and become emotionally unbalanced while you remain unmoved. Silence creates pressure. It exposes weakness. Machiavelli knew that the man who speaks last often wins, not because his words are better, but because his restraint shows power. The shift is to stop rushing to defend, justify, or explain. Let others talk. Let them reveal their intentions, their insecurity, their need for reaction. When you respond only after fully observing, your words gain weight. And weight is status. Shift number 3. Treat every interaction as a power exchange. Most men treat conversations as harmless social activity. High-status men treat them as information exchanges that reveal hierarchy, leverage, and intent. Every interaction, whether with friends, strangers, bosses, or romantic interests, contains signals. Who leads the frame? Who adapts? Who holds emotional ground? This shift isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness. Machiavelli argued that power is always present, even in peace. When you enter every interaction understanding that someone sets the tone, someone follows, someone reveals more, someone reveals less, you stop behaving unconsciously. You notice the subtle indicators. Who interrupts whom? Who apologizes first? Who breaks eye contact? Who seeks approval? Treating interactions as power exchanges doesn't make you cold. It makes you precise. And precision instantly elevates your perceived authority. Shift number 4. Become emotionally untouchable. Nothing lowers status faster than emotional leakage. Anger, insecurity, jealousy, frustration, desperation. The moment people can read your emotional state, they can influence it. Machiavelli insisted that a leader must appear composed even when chaos is internal. Emotional untouchability is not suppression, it's emotional sovereignty. It's the ability to feel without displaying, to analyze without reacting, to respond without exploding. When people cannot predict your emotions, they cannot control you. And when they cannot control you, they respect you, even fear losing your approval. Emotional untouchability creates a presence that is difficult to challenge. You become the calm center in every storm. And people instinctively defer to the man who remains unshaken when others break. Shift number 5. Prioritize leverage. Not fairness. Fairness is a beautiful idea, but a terrible strategy for power. Machiavelli warned that men who cling to fairness in an unfair world become victims of those who do not. High-status men don't seek fairness. They seek leverage. Leverage comes from controlling options, resources, information, or emotional access. It means making decisions based on what strengthens your position, not what feels morally fair. This doesn't make you immoral. It makes you strategic. The truth is simple. Those who operate on fairness are consistently outplayed by those who operate on advantage. When you start thinking in terms of leverage, what do I gain? What do I risk? What do I reveal? Your decisions stop being emotional and start being effective. And effectiveness is the foundation of real status. Shift number 6. Speak less, reveal less, control more. Words are cheap. Mystery is expensive. Most men talk too much because silence makes them uncomfortable. They reveal their plans, insecurities, motives, and emotions without realizing that every piece of information can be used against them. High-status men speak sparingly, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that restraint creates gravity. Machiavelli knew that power is partly an illusion, and illusions are built through controlled revelation. Speak less and people lean in. Reveal less and people fill the gaps with intrigue. Control more and you become unpredictable, which forces others into caution. A quiet man commands more respect than a loud one, not because he's better, but because he remains unreadable. Shift number 7. Become indifferent to losing people. This is the final shift, the one most men cannot embody. To Machiavelli, the most powerful man is the one who does not fear loss, whether of approval, relationships, or supporters. Most men cling. They overinvest. They tolerate disrespect. They fear being alone. But the moment you become indifferent to losing people, you gain an unshakable advantage. You cannot be emotionally blackmailed. You stop chasing, stop proving, stop negotiating your value. Indifference is not cruelty, it is clarity. You keep those who strengthen you. You release those who drain you. And because people sense this, they treat you with far more respect. When you no longer fear losing anyone, you become the kind of man no one wants to lose. These mindset shifts aren't abstract theories. They show themselves in the real world every single day. Once you begin applying them, people respond to you differently almost immediately, because modern society is built on psychological quick judgments. And nothing draws attention faster than a man who doesn't behave like the average one. Consider dating. Most men chase validation, text too quickly, explain too much, and try to win affection through effort. High-status men do the opposite. They project controlled distance, respond with calm confidence, and never rush to prove anything. A woman instantly feels the difference. One man is trying to earn her. The other moves as if he already has options. Ordinary men think attraction is built through giving more. High-status men know it's built through revealing less. In the workplace, the contrast becomes even sharper. The average employee reacts emotionally to criticism, over-apologizes, or tries to impress through constant talking. Meanwhile, the high-status man practices calculated silence. He listens, observes, and speaks only when his words have purpose. He doesn't seek approval from managers. He earns influence by appearing composed under pressure. Colleagues sense his stability, and suddenly his ideas carry more weight. His calmness becomes authority. In social circles, ordinary men sabotage themselves by oversharing, trying too hard to be liked, or inserting themselves into every conversation. But the man who treats interactions as power exchanges, speaks sparingly, maintains emotional neutrality, and holds strong boundaries. People gravitate toward him because they can't predict him. They feel he possesses a depth others don't. Friend groups begin to revolve around him, not because he demands leadership, but because he becomes the gravitational center. Even online, these shifts matter. Most men chase attention, validation, and reaction. The high-status man doesn't need to respond to every comment, argument, or message. His restraint signals self-command. He is selective, intentional, and focused. And in a world addicted to noise, he stands out simply by refusing to play the game. The truth is simple. These mindsets raise your status instantly because they make you rare. Most men are reactive, emotional, approval-seeking, and overly available. When you adopt the opposite patterns, distance, neutrality, silence, indifference, you break the psychological expectations people have for modern men. And the more you break those expectations, the more your presence rewrites the social dynamics around you. Most men never rise, not because they lack intelligence or ambition, but because they fall into psychological traps that quietly destroy their status. These traps are subtle, seductive, and socially rewarded. Yet Machiavelli warned that the greatest danger to a man's power comes not from his enemies, but from his own unexamined weaknesses. The first trap is oversharing. Ordinary men bleed their emotions, thoughts, dreams, and insecurities into every conversation, believing vulnerability will earn them connection. Instead, it earns them disrespect. High-status men remain strategically private. Their silence creates intrigue. Their restraint projects strength. A man who reveals everything has nothing left that's valuable. The second trap is emotional neediness. Most men crave approval. They chase validation, like thirsty travelers crawl toward mirages, liking every post, responding instantly, explaining themselves endlessly, trying to be understood. But the more validation they seek, the more invisible they become. Neediness kills desire, kills respect, kills authority. Power flows toward men who don't need it. Another trap is people-pleasing. Men are conditioned to avoid conflict, to smooth things over, to be agreeable, to be the nice guy. Machiavelli would call this a fatal flaw. Those who try to please everyone end up pleasing no one. High-status men choose sides carefully, speak selectively, and never betray themselves to secure approval. The fourth trap, fear of confrontation. Most men run from tension. They stay silent when they should speak. They fold when they should hold the line. They allow disrespect because they're afraid of creating discomfort. But authority is born in moments of tension. A man who cannot confront cannot lead. Next comes moral over-attachment, the belief that being good is enough to win in life. Machiavelli exposes this illusion brutally. Goodness without power becomes martyrdom. Men cling to moral purity to avoid the hard choices necessary for strength. They choose comfort over effectiveness and wonder why the world ignores them. Finally, there is the trap of weakness disguised as niceness. Men pretend they're humble, selfless, just trying their best, when in reality they're avoiding responsibility, challenge, and growth. Niceness becomes the mask worn by men too afraid to evolve. These traps are psychological cages, and the moment a man recognizes them, he begins the transformation. High-status men are not born, they're forged the moment they stop betraying themselves. The path to real power is not mystical, complicated, or reserved for the elite. It is built through deliberate, disciplined mindset shifts, small daily practices that reshape the way a man thinks, moves, speaks, and responds. Machiavelli taught that power belongs not to the strongest, but to the most prepared. And preparation begins with the inner world. 1. Master the art of strategic restraint. The first step is learning to withhold. Speak less. Reveal less. React slower. For 1 week, practice saying 50% less than you normally would. Observe how people lean in, how silence forces others to reveal themselves. This shift alone raises your perceived value instantly. The man who controls his words controls the room. 2. Train emotional detachment. Spend 10 minutes daily in complete stillness. Not meditation, observation. Watch your emotions rise and fall without reacting to them. You'll begin separating your identity from your impulses. Within weeks, you'll respond to conflict, disrespect, or attraction with clarity instead of reactivity. Emotional control is the first mark of the quietly dangerous man. 3. Build selective availability. High-status men are not easily accessed. For the next 14 days, delay responses, break the habit of instant availability, and let your time become sacred. When you treat your time as valuable, others do too. This rewires your social dynamic more than charm ever could. 4. Practice calculated confrontation. Choose 1 moment each week where you hold your boundary. Don't apologize for existing. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. A single instance of calm confrontation. No, that doesn't work for me. Will do more for your power than years of passive politeness. Machiavelli wrote that fear and respect grow from a man's ability to enforce his limits. Asterisk 5. Study human behavior quietly. Spend a month in observational mode. Watch how people seek validation, how they betray their intentions through body language, how neediness leaks into tone and posture. The more you understand human nature, the less it can manipulate you. This is the birth of strategic intuition, the sense that lets powerful men read situations instantly. 6. Embrace solitude as training. Greatness grows in quiet rooms. For 30 minutes a day, isolate yourself from noise, entertainment, and distraction. Use this time to think, plan, reflect, and sharpen your identity. Solitude is where you reforge the parts of you the world tried to soften. A man who is comfortable alone is untouchable. 7. Build an inner code of strength. Choose the traits you will live by. Discipline, self-respect, clarity, restraint, decisiveness. Write them down. Review them every morning. Every action should align with that code. High-status men do not stumble into power. They build themselves brick by brick. By now, you've seen the 7 dark mindset shifts that instantly elevate a man's status. Project controlled distance. Embrace calculated silence. Treat every interaction as a power exchange. Become emotionally untouchable. Prioritize leverage over fairness. Speak less and reveal less. And cultivate indifference to losing people. Each one is a psychological tool, a lens through which the world measures your value, often before you speak or act. Together, they form a framework few men ever encounter, let alone master. The hidden truth is clear. Men who adopt these mindsets dominate in silence. They do not need to prove themselves. They do not chase validation. They do not explain, justify, or overextend. Their power is quiet, subtle, and unshakable. And because it is invisible to the untrained eye, it appears effortless, a phenomenon ordinary men can only envy. But here is the harsh reality. Most men will watch this, nod along, and forget everything by tomorrow. They will continue chasing approval, reacting impulsively, and clinging to weakness disguised as niceness. Only a few will act. Only a few will implement, reflect, and sharpen themselves. Those men, the rare, disciplined, deliberate ones, will become unrecognizable within a year. Their presence will demand attention. Their decisions will carry weight. Their value will multiply in every environment. The challenge is simple but uncompromising. Choose to be the exception. Apply these mindsets deliberately. Observe, reflect, and refine yourself daily. Let every interaction, every decision, every moment be a step toward quiet mastery. Start now. The world will respond, and you will never be the same.